Welcome to a brand new week 2 episode of the Huddle House. We're here joined this week with Ty once again, and we got Jeremy McCleary on the show this week. This is the winner's circle. We all three came away with good results, good outcomes this week, and all coming down. Well, actually, no, Ty's wasn't, but me and Jeremy's coming down to Monday Night Football. So very stressful weeks, all pretty close games for the most part. So yeah, how you guys feeling?
I feel great.
Yeah, wow. Weird game.
It feels really good to sneak out with a win when, it could have gone either way, and glad to pull it out. 1-1 sounds a lot better knowing two.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I feel the same way. I really, really wanted to win this week. I did not want to have to wear a T-shirt that Jake had come up with every episode. I was gonna do it too. After the Thursday night games, he had like 4 Chargers playing, and so I thought it's not gonna work out. Like it's gonna fight against him. But then it turned out, they gave him what they were projected, even plus a little bit, and I was like, well, shoot, man. Like I was thinking I might have to do it, and I was worried for a minute, but thankfully I don't have to, so that was.
And since you were true and we're going to do it, that means Jake has to 100% uphold his promise.
I thought, that a bet's a bet. I totally.
You guys need a deal. If Jake doesn't uphold this bet, the entire league is going to kill him. He's going to keep your name out of his mouth. The only exception is if he's ever a Huddle House guest, but I don't know. It's up to Ty, I guess. Maybe he comes to Huddle House and does not mention that Ty's even on the show.
Oh, can't even message him for trades.
No, see, that's not necessarily what I meant. What I meant was just don't at me or my team in the chat or say anything about us.
Us.
Yeah. me and my son. Don't say anything about us. No, just, me and my team. Myself, we can talk. We can certainly talk. I just don't want to have to hear anything about it.
But stay out of it.
Would have followed through on the bet had it gone the other way. It would have been tough, but I thought, we could make more content out of it, and that was we're always after. So, anyhow, 1-1. So Barnes, you're 2-0 though. I know that you were stressing a little bit more last night than that video you sent would have let on. My estimation.
Because last night was horrible. But I vowed that if I won, whether it's close or a blowout, I was still going to just trash talk as much as physically possible the day after, just because, how can I not with Lucas? I know he would do the same. It's dog eat dog. I knew that if I won, I don't care if it's about 0.2, he's getting trashed. So I had to come out, to meet him a little bit, take some shots, even though, he definitely scared me a little bit yesterday. It was, you were on the phone with me. It was not a fun night for me at all to watch.
Yeah, you were stressed, very stressed. So, but game ended as it did. Now the dust is settled. We can look back on week 2 a little bit. I guess, where are we starting?
So let's go through these matchups. James Carter, start with. We're gonna be a little quicker tonight, just because we don't want to have an hour-long episode, but definitely for this one, it's a pretty low-scoring game. James didn't really do anything exceptional. Had a pretty mediocre week from Monte Adams, and got some good play out of Christian Kirk, but overall just kind of an okay week. But Carter, definitely the storyline with him is just that he doesn't really have much going for him at the moment. Amari looked better, but he can't figure out which Rams running back to start. They're kind of splitting 50-50. That's a tough situation. And Matt Ryan has been putrid to start this year, so he's definitely missing Deshaun Watson. That's for sure.
Yeah. It was,
and he started Trubisky last week.
Yeah.
So he hasn't had good quarterback play all year.
Yeah, and Lockett was on his bench with, 107 yards and 9 catches. So, granted, I don't know if either of those are swinging the decision of this game either. It may have been a lot closer, but James just got by with, the talented players he has in those positions. And I think the only exceptional performance I would say is Christian Kirk. Yeah, I'd say that's the only exceptional
Yeah.
things, but just solid all around, and this is one of those things I think in fantasy football, like obviously we see, we've had a lot of high scoring this year, whether it's Brandon hanging like 150 twice in a row, Matt put up 130 this week, Marcus and Jordan were both in the 130s. Like more often than not, though, I feel like you have a solid week and you can bank on your opponent maybe not playing as well and get a good number of wins that way. So there's no one way to win. You don't have to put up 1,000 points. You can have an average week and
get the job done.
You just got to hope you catch guys on bad weeks. I mean, we all remember a couple years ago when I was a 1 seed in the playoffs with only putting up like 95 a week.
Unbelievable.
it was a sight to see. So I mean, and James is a lot better than that team was. I'm
glad to see you've left your winning ways in the past. You didn't carry them into the dynasty league, huh?
I'm 2-0. What are you talking about?
You know what? I've been hearing a lot of. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy. You had something you were saying there.
No, I didn't.
Okay, I thought you had a thought.
No, you're good.
Just about Christian McCaffrey real quick, because I've been listening to things today and this morning. I feel like I've heard a lot of people down on him. And looking at his stat line, I mean, 15 carries for 102 yards and 4 catches. I know he only had 26 yards receiving, but that's good work. Like, I don't understand. People might be mad because he didn't have a touchdown and he only had 14 carries.
Yeah.
But like, that's a solid game. Like, people are talking like he's dead, and that doesn't seem dead to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's him on a mediocre to subpar game.
Yeah, it's like he's a victim of expectations. I mean, like that's still a very solid week for almost any other running back. But when you're, CMC or Justin Jefferson at this point, or Cooper Kupp, and you have a week where you don't put up like 20 or around that, it's like you kind of looked at as like a little bit underperforming.
And I'm sure the owners want more than 15 carries too.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think workload plays a part in this with all the injuries and stuff like that? I mean,
it could. They could just look at what they've done in the past and say it clearly wasn't working. Give him less.
I don't know.
He's still really good.
I don't trust nothing that comes out of Matt Rule's mouth. Any man says we need to get LaVisca Chenault on the field more.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, bro? Just give Christian McCaffrey 5 more touches.
Matt Rule is just throwing random stuff at the dartboard and seeing what sticks at this point. I think he knows he's on his way out.
It's like week 8 at this point.
Yeah.
The clock's ticking. Like it could be before that.
All right, so let's move on. Caleb Mitri. Do we need to talk about this one, guys? It was 93-70.
It was a stinker of a game.
Yeah. Ooh, man.
Caleb wins when he doesn't want to. That's the most Caleb thing ever. He's Orlando Magic on fan appreciation night. It's just versus.
It's not even that. It's just Caleb to start the year. It's become tradition at this point where he just comes out. Doesn't even have to be hot. He's winning. That's what matters.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, if you had to pick a team that's like our New York Giants this year, it's definitely like Caleb.
Yeah. Somehow winning.
Yeah.
Caleb has two guys, his like 2 receivers and flexes this week put up 2.5, 4.6, 2.3, and 2.4, and he still wins by 23 points.
Big numbers.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
Well, I'm looking at Mitri's roster. Jacoby Brissett is already back off his roster. He
dropped it.
He's got Jimmy G now. He's got Jimmy G back. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another L for Mitri. I think we kind of saw that one coming. It just is part of the process, man.
It's
what's
crazy.
There's
a lot more to come.
70 was not the lowest score in the league this week, though, which is crazy.
It's 2 weeks in a row he hasn't been the lowest. I think Chris and Carter are fighting over that every week, it seems like.
Well, we've had 2 weeks. So
I think Mitri has something in Curtis Samuel. I thought that was just like a one-off thing I was adding in a trade to get Chubb and Robinson, but dang, man, Curtis is looking legit.
Curtis is like looking way better now than Robinson.
That might be the most valuable piece on his team right now. Is Samuel? Like, I think that's his most valuable player right now.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Hey, Mitri's fed me a lot. If I can feed him a little, I'm happy. So.
It's not Pacheco.
Not yet. It's not.
Not yet. You
All
wait
right.
till week 3.
All right, so Brandon, Chris. I mean, another one. It's like, now let's not spend too much time on it. Brandon's team is absolutely gross. 30 points. Josh Allen gets 38.8 from Stephon Diggs. It's an unreal performance. I mean, this is without Gabe Davis. It's just like, and Pittman. It's like he was down. He's down 2 of his top 4 or 5 players, and he hangs 144. I mean, everyone needs to be shaking in their boots for what Brandon's team is doing right now. There's really no hole on this roster. You can really only bank on maybe Ingram having a bad game here and there, or maybe ETN's looked a little bit underwhelming. But other than that, this team has no weakness.
Okay, I got one for you because you guys both golf and have golfed a fair amount in your day. You know the rule: if you tee off and you don't hit it past the women's tee box,
You drop your shorts.
Yeah.
So I what happens if your score in fantasy football gets doubled? I feel like there's like a similar. It's not too different.
I feel like I've had that happen before. I've had some pretty bad losses in my day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there should be a punishment for it other than just public shame, but I mean, definitely not a good feeling when you get beat by 85 points.
And you put up 63.
Yeah.
Maybe you drop your shorts for the 1 o'clock slate next week, something like that.
He could have been playing in the Superflex league and still would have lost to Brandon.
Yeah.
Could have had a whole nother quarterback and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Honestly, I think that one of the biggest surprises with Chris's team, there's been a few that if things have gone wrong, because I think Chris's roster going into the season is a lot better than what he's getting out of these guys. But Darnell Mooney, I mean, not that Derrick Henry's been good. He's been friggin' horrible. But, that being said, I don't feel overly bad about that trade right now, considering Mooney is just not doing anything. It's really weird. He had -4 receiving yards this week. He had 2 targets. It's like things are kind of coming out that he might not really be a 1, And, I mean, I kind of thought he would be just because of the amount of volume he would just be forced to get. But, Fields is barely throwing the ball. They're running it a lot. They're not on the field very much because of how bad the offense is. And when he is throwing, it's going to Equanimous St. Brown or.
Yeah, Matt, you're telling this to a man who has 0 total tight end points scored this year. Not a single one. We're going into week 3 now.
Matt, yeah.
He's gotten 1 target, didn't catch it.
I mean, the Bears' passing offense just doesn't exist. I mean, Fields threw 11 passes. When does that ever happen?
One last thing too on Chris's team, surprising. I feel like is Russ, just because things are a little clunky there in Denver, and everybody thought he was going to explode, and it seems like it's taken a little bit more time than people thought. So I mean, he's been a little bit of a slow starter.
Yeah, and so is Kyle Pitts. I mean, Arthur Smith comes out and says we're using him as a decoy, to get Cordero Hodge open. It's like what is wrong with you, man? I'd fire this guy on the spot if that's his theory. You're gonna freaking basically make Kyle Pitts useless on purpose to get 6th round wide receivers open. What is your deal?
He got a hit in Drake London. That guy looks really good.
Yeah, Drake London's for real. I mean, that's one pick that I think we all knew is very likely to be a good player, and so far he's lived up to expectations. But other than that, man, it's been a lot of disappointment for Chris. I mean, I don't think we expected him to have an unbelievable season, but to just kind of have so many of these guys not really delivering on ADP and what they're supposed to be is definitely taking a huge hit to his performances. So
yeah.
Moving on, we'll go to Jeremy and Austin's. So the decision that rocked the world. He saw the Titans defense sitting there, a defense that hasn't been good really game 1, but let's Saquon run all over their necks. And they're like, you know what, let's start these guys against Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs at their home opener.
Let's go.
What? I mean, I'm not, Austin's a good owner. He's drafted great, but dude, just don't start a defense, man. That's going to be negatives. In what world does the Titans get positive points against the Bills?
Yeah. And if they would have gotten their projection, he would have won. The projection was -0.2. So
how often do you see a defense's projection be negative?
It's pretty rare when you go up against one that's projected negatives. Normally they'll sign somebody day of and just throw them in the lineup or the day before.
Yeah.
Just chuck him in there for a game, then cut him immediately or something like that. Or just don't play him and take that risk. But
nightmare fuel stuff.
In his defense, I did have AJ and Miles Sanders going into that game. And AJ didn't catch a touchdown, but he's been good.
Yeah.
So
tell me,
he had some weapons.
Tell me what you were feeling seeing the Dolphins game when Tyreek kept catching.
I'll tell you what I was feeling. I watched the majority of that game and then went to sleep. And I went to sleep in the fourth quarter with like 9 minutes left or something like that, like right before he caught his touchdown. And I woke up and he had 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I had 2 missed calls from Matt Barnes. And I was like, what happened when I was asleep that went so well and saved me from going to sleep angry looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown drop 32 on me. And I was like, this guy's legit. Like, he's doing it every week now.
That's the most. But I'll tell you what, as someone who was kind of in that boat last year going into the playoffs, this was the infamous Jake jinx when like I had Dalvin like 30 at halftime. There's nothing more like when you have a player put up like 30 plus exceptional and you're like, this is going to be a boost for the week. And then like the player literally right across from him in the lineup
bombs it.
Puts up the same amount. It just like cancels out. It's a net. And you gained 2 on it. I mean, like that's a demoralizing feeling.
And Austin had some injury issues going into the week, so I'm just happy to squeak by and get the win. I've liked what I've seen from my team so far, so
yeah, for sure.
I'm fine with being 1-1.
But for Austin, there's no reason to hit the panic button or anything. His team still looks really good on paper. He's getting wide receiver 1 season from Amon-Ra. I don't see it slowing down. That guy is the only. He's had 8 catches
You wait till Jameson Williams steps on that field.
Might help him even more, man.
I don't know.
Imagine when they get a quarterback. Like, geez. Now he's putting up these numbers with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
I think that I love both yours and Austin's team. Like, you guys are scrappy and explosive. And gosh, man, I'll tell you what, if Joe Burrow could pull his head out from between his legs, I think you and me.
I know. I would be playing a lot better. Thank goodness he didn't do it week 1.
Joe Burrow's going for 40 against me. I just have a feeling.
Hey, I mean, he's bound to have a good week eventually.
Yeah, and it's going to happen on the week you play me. I can sense it. I can smell it.
Well, when it happens, don't you dare complain to me because I'm not going to have any tolerance.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I think that good game here, down to the wire. Heartbreaker, but God had to be a nice feeling going to sleep.
It felt amazing. Yeah.
Euphoric.
It felt really good. I feared going down. It felt very reminiscent of last year where I thought my team was like middle of the pack. And if everything goes right, they could compete and push for a playoff spot. But last year we started the year, like I think we were 0-3 to start the year last year. And then lost week 1. I was like, oh boy, here we go again. I'm going to win 4 straight to end the year again and miss the playoffs. But no, it felt amazing.
Good stuff. Yeah. All right. Do you want to do mine since yours had the drama, Matt? I'll talk about
mine. That's fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the big storyline for me was that just my team – I think my team has enough good players to where they can, like, pick each other up when one of them – I'm sounding like I'm talking about a real team here, but, like, these guys know each other. They balance each other out.
They know they're on the jimmies. They communicate before the games.
It's nice to know because I didn't have that kind of setup last year. I didn't have the depth where I could be like, well, my star player may doesn't have to have his best game because I have enough other players that can balance out him, underperforming. And that's what happened this week with Jonathan Taylor only having 6.8 in that crazy Colts and Jags game where they just couldn't do anything. I had other players step up. Swift had an amazing game. He only touched the ball, I'm looking, 7 times in the game.
Unbelievable.
He had one 50-yard run, like that crazy 15-yard touchdown catch. He's just an awesome player. But obviously the big storyline was Nick Chubb going for the 3 touchdowns. The last one he scored, which ended up costing them the game a little bit. If you'd have just me,
he goes down to the one they win, they can just kneel it out.
Yeah. So I mean, not too much to report with my team in the story. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at and what I saw. I think more so the story would be about Jake because he's 0-2 now, and
It hurts.
It does hurt, and like it was going to be one of us because we were both 0-1. So I mean, one of us knew they were going to be in this pit, but I think his is just a little more daunting because of the investment he has in older players and the lack of like young capital. I will say Michael Thomas has been looking great this year. I won't say he's looking vintage 2019 Michael Thomas, but he's looking better.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, and the only thing Jake can take hard on, which I mean, I'm playing silver lining here, but I mean, he's gone up against Brandon and you in the first 2 weeks, which are definitely two of the front runners, you know. So I mean, yes, he's lost both games pretty handily, but like, I mean, and he hasn't had good showings, but like, I mean, his schedule's gonna get easier since he got two of his toughest weeks out of the way, you know. So he's gonna be hitting a little bit of an easy stretch here. So
and it's gonna hurt his team when DK Metcalf's coming out here and putting up like 30 yards every week.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the guy, that was his building block. Like that was like his one and only building block for a long time.
First round pick.
Yeah.
And he benched him. He benched him this week.
Yeah, he chose to bench him.
Yeah.
He gave him 1 week and then said, you're done. And I mean, he only put up 5 points, so it's not like he lost out on much.
yeah, no, it ended up being a good decision, but it's just a weird feeling having to bench DK Metcalf. Like, tough.
I think he has some brighter days coming. He's going to get Kittle back before too long.
Yeah.
And then also Jeff Wilson's stepping into a primary role, so like he probably might get a few valuable weeks out of him as a flex if he wanted. So I mean, and then Mike Williams had a great game, but like this is the Mike Williams thing, right? Like it'll be 2 points or it'll be 20. I think he got boosted a lot because he got the Keenan Allen role this week a little bit. Like just they were throwing to him like 8-yard hitches and short routes and stuff they typically don't throw to him, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely some things to take hard in, but I mean, Gibson's still getting a decent amount of work. He wasn't very efficient this week, but Gibson's, I think, is doing enough to at least warrant them making him the lead back. I mean, I think Robinson will get some work, but I don't think it'll be like what we thought in the preseason where like, oh my gosh, he's completely in the doghouse. Like,
well, yeah, he got shot in the leg, so he's probably still going to have to like get worked back in slowly.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's probably Gibson's backfield for pretty much the whole season, I'd say, or at least most of it. So, there's some things to take hard in, but yeah, he's got a really scary situation being 0-2 with that team when the lack of draft capital he has. So I mean, he's still trying to get me. He's still trying to get thirds from everybody. My gosh, he traded me. He was trying to send me offers for thirds earlier this week, and I'm just like, dude, like you need to be trying to get back in the first and second rounds. Like this man's trying to get back in the third round.
He traded me his 2 third-round picks for this year and next year. Last year on draft day.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I gave him my third last year and got his third this year and next year.
Yeah. He doesn't have anything really.
He's got to get the value back.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough about that one. I think we covered the storylines.
Yeah.
Matt, let's talk yours, man.
Thank you, Jalen Waddle. It's best thing I can say. I was very encouraged by what I've seen from him in the first 2 weeks. I mean, yes, week 1, I didn't really love his target share, but he still got a touchdown, still had that big playability. And now week 2, 19 targets. I mean, I understand it's a fluke week where 2 with those 50 passes. That's not going to happen week in and week out. But I was actually talking to Jeremy about this a little bit earlier of like, they're a pass first team. Like they're the way it at least comes off through 2 weeks. It does not seem like they are going to base their entire offense around Chase Edmonds. They are a pass first team, and there are no threats on that team outside of Waddle and Hill. Like, I mean, Mike Gesicki caught a touchdown, but other than that, he doesn't get targets anymore. Cedric Wilson barely sees the field. It is those 2 guys. So even if Tua is only throwing 30 to 35 passes a game, probably 27 of those passes are going to Hill and Waddle. So, like, I don't see any reason why Waddle can't get 11, 12 targets a game pretty consistently this year, even with Tyreek Hill there. So I was encouraged by his workload, what he was able to do with it. He was great. Got a little bit of an improvement from CD this week, but still not what I love to see. I mean, 11 targets is nice, but I want to see him get in the end zone, have a little bit more explosiveness. but improvement at least. And Cooper Kupp is still Cooper Kupp. I would say my biggest concerns is just the running backs. Dalvin doesn't seem to be getting the work he was last year. They're very much pass first this year, and then Derek he's getting the workload, but his problem is just the offensive line is just absolutely pathetic, and so he's getting met at the line of scrimmage every play. So that's kind of my big concern with those two is just situationally they're not really in the best positions, and I didn't expect it to be this bad going into the year. I thought they were both going to pretty much be what they were the previous years for the most part, but it definitely is indicating regression. I just got to try to gauge if the regression is serious enough to panic or if it's just kind of a couple bad weeks.
Well, I will say, you got some target hogs at receiver, like 14 for Kupp, 11 for CD, 19 for Waddle, 10 for Renfro. You got hella targets this week. So just a great, I think, what I said last night, what I think is impressive is you hung 130 and like your two bell cow running backs only gave you 11 combined. Like that's pretty impressive. And you only got 0.8 from your tight end spot. So, a really good week for you. I think this is a disappointing one for Lucas because I think this was a very winnable, like as many points as you put up, like this was a winnable game. He benched Damian Harris and left 15 points sitting down there. And I was a little surprised by that move to roll with Paris Campbell over him. Granted, like hindsight 2020, like when they get blanked, it looks bad. And it looks different when he's probably, the presumptive number one passing threat in the offense with Pittman out. But I still feel like he kind of left guaranteed points on the table for non. And then the Commanders defense crushed them, -2, like brutal.
There were a lot of defenses that hurt teams this week.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And the defenses don't normally play that big of a part in whether you win or not. But they can. But this week it seems like they did.
I think we're missing on a huge thing for Lucas, and it didn't affect him this week because this guy was on his taxi. But I think one of the main storylines for Lucas is Garrett Wilson.
Yeah,
14 targets, 2 touchdowns, 102 yards. This was the emergence game for him. He was fine last week, but this week is like Garrett Wilson's like, I'm here, already. I think a lot of times we assume these rookie wide receivers are going to kind of hit their stride week 4, 5, 6, kind of have a few early on weeks where they just aren't much, but no, he's right there where he needs to be immediately. And Lucas is already saying, he might start him in his wide receiver 2 next spot next week. It's like Garrett Wilson is at a point where I think you can feel pretty confident starting him with what we've already seen right off the bat. So, I'm glad he didn't this week. I'm glad he was on his taxi, but I think Lucas has a new guy he can kind of trust.
I think especially when Flacco's the quarterback. I don't know how things will go when Wilson comes back, but Flacco can get the ball. And he's shown it these 2 weeks. He can get the ball to all three receivers on their team, especially Corey Davis. Now, I'm just saying, guys, it's been hot. Just throwing it out there.
And he's done a good job even with Michael Carter in his reduced role. He's still putting up like 8 fantasy points like a night. So it's not like completely irrelevant. So
they've been a pretty decent offense so far this year. I think Flacco's he's still not obviously unbelievable, but he's third in the league in passing yards right now, and he's showing hints of young Flacco. It's kind of weird. Like he's looking pretty fresh out there, throwing some good balls.
He's elite.
It's just
I do like looking at Lucas's team here and seeing right under Paris off roster in red. From the starting lineup to the curve, he is gone.
To the streets.
Yeah, I can't blame him. You can't put up a goose egg when you're supposed to be the main target that week. Gosh, I know that was the entire Colts team, but still 2 targets when your main target competition is Ashton Doolin and 2 targets. You're a 2nd round pick in the draft and 2 targets. He needs to be cut, dude. I don't think anyone was giving him 1 fab for that guy. So it's
we gotta hit the most heartbreaking finish of the week before we briefly preview week 3. But we gotta mention Marcus.
Yeah.
Brutal loss he had there. Who would have thought with 10 points to go you wouldn't get it from Jefferson and the Vikings kicker? Like utter collapse by the Vikings, and they got dominated by the Eagles and Darius Slay specifically. My gosh.
Yeah, he was everywhere.
Yeah. I felt bad for him because I know how bad he told me He told me that he was still not feeling the most optimistic all throughout the day. I know it was on his mind that something like that could happen. It was a nightmare, and for it to come true, it's tough. I know he'll be the first to tell you that this is his luck.
It's a painful one for sure. Yeah, definitely one that it's one of those losses where you don't want to talk to him for a few days. He needs to kind of sleep with that one off.
It's a read.
It's a tough one. I mean, there's some things to be excited about. Cortland Sutton looked good again. Jahan Dotson been a rookie stud, really come on quick, just like how Garrett Wilson just did. JJ is still JJ every other week of the year. This was just a weird fluke, but it's not going to happen consistently. And Lamar Jackson's playing unbelievable this year. So, I mean, he's got a lot going for him. Nothing to hang your hat on too much, but this is definitely one that he's going to look back and probably kick himself over, even though he didn't really do anything wrong. It's just definitely one that hurts quite a bit.
Yeah, couldn't have done anything differently. Sucky loss. But let's talk. I think we should show Jordan some love here, though, because a lot of people were poo-pooing everything, and he's sitting here 2-0.
He is.
He's got a frisky team, man.
It's a weird roster. It's a really weird roster. It's one that it does not look sexy on paper at all, but Cordero Patterson is still the guy there, which I don't think anyone expected going into the year, that he's still going to be getting that crazy volume.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, I mean, him and Dylan are going to trade great games, but he's still going to pop off one out of every two probably, Now I still don't really love his receivers, but I mean, they're all liable to have good games here and there. It's just, but Kyler's going to always put up good stats. So I mean, yeah, it seems overperforming so far, and definitely going to hang some good weeks out there.
He's got.
I think he also has some room to grow with Jerry Jeudy, and you got Russell Wilson going out there and doing nothing the whole game, then calling it. If you get some good games out of Russell Wilson, he puts up numbers of old. You get Jerry Jeudy with 100 receiving yards. Throw that on top of that, his team looks just that much better.
Yeah, and I mean, he was missing Alvin Kamara this week. Looked like Trevor Lawrence has taken another step, and I think the Jacoby Myers trade has been really nice for him. Jacoby's nothing sexy, like you said, Matt, but he's a steady presence that gets a lot of targets and receptions. So I think he's got a good balance of players of high floors and then high ceiling, and that will low floors, high ceiling. So I think he's got a solid balance there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's get into these previews. We only have 5 minutes, so we can't really talk about them too much. We're just gonna make our picks.
Let's do it.
We're gonna blow through these. So me and Jeremy, I'm picking myself. I'm always gonna believe in myself.
I'm picking myself in that one for sure.
So Ty's kind of the tiebreaker.
Go ahead, Ty.
Happened last week too. I had to be a swing vote between your all's matchup.
That's always how it's going to be if the other person is playing someone else on the show.
Oh man. Okay, let me take a gander at this. Well, I gotta think that. Oh man, it's hard for me to pick against Burrow. But I do
go with your gut.
Do think I'm
the leader.
I think I'm going to go with Matt's team. I think Matt's team and his running backs have nice matchups next week.
Unbelievable. You heard it here first. Ty doesn't believe in Joe.
I'm trying the reverse jinx method on him.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, thanks, Ty. I appreciate it.
We'll have Jake say that for you.
All right, so James Marcus. I mean, I'm not even really looking at the matchups too much, just because we don't have time.
Yeah. No, I think Marcus comes off his hot week and squeaks out a win here.
I expect a close one. McCaffrey against the Saints is one that I think could be a little bit of a low scoring week for McCaffrey. I might jinx that. I don't know, but I think Marcus gets revenge, gets back on track. I think Justin Jefferson just torches Detroit. So we're gonna go Marcus gets the win.
See, this is an interesting one because if Jefferson torches Detroit, that means Kirk plays well.
Oh yeah,
that's it. That's the quarterback games. I think primetime Russ versus San Fran. I think I'm gonna roll with Marcus too. He gets a pick me up win there.
Yeah. All right. Lucas, Caleb. All right. Caleb's taking his first loss of the season. Yeah. Lucas starting Garrett Wilson. He's going to get a good week out of Garrett Wilson. I think he keeps that train rolling. Lucas is getting 1 and 2 here.
Yeah, I think they both get what they want.
Yeah, I'll go Lucas as well.
Yeah,
both Wallens in that house will be happy.
Yeah, if Caleb beats Lucas, he might be punching a wall.
In which case, they will both be mad.
Yeah. So Austin, Carter. I'm in Austin. I'm sorry, Carter,
Yeah.
but that team is not built to win right now, and Austin's is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin, tough loss, but I think he bounces back. Carter's
Only
team
chance Carter
hasn't
has
shown
is if
too
Justin
much.
Herbert's out, which I don't think Justin Herbert will be out. But if he is, Carter might have a puncher's chance because I don't really like Mac Jones for fantasy half as much as I like Justin Herbert. But if Justin Herbert plays, Austin wins.
I agree.
I'm going to go with Austin too. I think he just has more talented players, but Carter does have good matchups, so I could see that one being a little closer.
We got Jordan versus Jake.
Jake needs this one, man.
Jake really needs
This
this
is
one.
tough.
This might be the most important matchup of the week. Like Jay, this is Jake's season. He can't go 0-3. He can 0-2. You can fight back from 0-3. You're in a hole. I mean, he has to win this one.
And I think I'm going to go with Jordan. Hear me out here. It's, if I'm going to pick Marcus and think that Russell Wilson could improve or have better weeks, Jerry's going to have a better week. Kyler's going to put numbers up regardless. So, I mean, he's got some guys that are just going to put up stats. Patterson's playing Seattle.
Yeah.
He
I don't know.
could get Kamara back.
I'm gonna pick Jordan just out of spite of Jake.
I could see it going Jake's way as well. I think Jake has the better roster.
All right,
but
guys, we got a
Jordan's
minute and a
team's not.
half. We got a minute and a half. Ty, who you got?
I'm going Jake.
Okay, so 2 Jordans, 1 Jake. I'm picking Jordan out of spite. This is one we should have talked about more, but Ty and Brandon, that's a clash for the ages. Huge game. Man, my friendship, my allegiances, I want Ty to win, knock Brandon down a peg, especially after his antics in the chat this week. But man, I'm seeing a lot of green for for Brandon's matchups. Man, I'm gonna go. Brandon pulls this out.
All right.
It'll be a high-scoring game.
I'm also going to go with Brandon. I like his team a little bit more than Ty's. And, he's just
Okay.
that's all I got going for me.
Well, I'm not going to come in here and be a pansy and pick Brandon too, so I'll pick myself. Because I want.
Sorry, Ty.
Shocking. All three of us choose ourselves.
I expect it to be close.
I want to have representation here.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more
Last
game.
matchup. This is the one we can only spend 20 seconds on anyway.
Go.
Chris Mitri.
Oh, jeez. Save the best for last.
One of these guys is winning their first game. I got to assume Kyle Pitts and Mooney get back on track. I'm going Chris.
I think I'm going to go with Mitri, with Curtis Samuel putting up another big week.
All right, Ty, 3 seconds.
Chris.